All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Madam Court Officer, please call the case.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is KSC BC 2020-06, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Hashim Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, Recep Selim, and Jakub Krasniqi.
Margot. Unfortunately, I left all my notes up in my office and picked up the wrong folder. This morning, we will begin hearing the testimony of 00072. I note that Mr. Thaçi and Mr. Krasniqi are both following by video link. Mr. Salimi and Mr. Veseli are present in the courtroom with us. Madam Court Officer, you may call the, bring the witness, Madam Usher, you may bring the witness in.
May I just address one issue that I talked to my colleague about this morning?
Yes.
And there appears to be some confusion in the indictment with this witness's testimony, and I don't hope to be overly nitpicky about it, Judge, but I think we want to get this right. There are two names in the indictment, Miodrag Berdzic and Predrag Berdzic. And it appears that to the defense going through the collective interviews that this witness has put forth, that they are the same people. One of them has the nickname, the nickname of used. She says, I believe it was one of the trials in Pristina, the presiding judge asked her specifically, is it the same person, Miodrag, Berdzic, or Predrag? Yes, it's the same. Some call him Miodrag, some Predrag. So I don't know how Your Honor wants to handle this. If Your Honors want to handle it, if you want us to handle it on cross or direct examination, but
I'm going to leave it to the lawyers to straighten out this little issue because it doesn't seem to be very big.
doesn't seem to be very big. That's why I brought it up now.
Either you may question this or you may, or any of you, so I'm not going to worry about that too much.
Okay.
Before we start, I just want to clarify yesterday's discussion on the presentation cues. I remind everyone that on 13 April 2023, we amended paragraph 83 of the Order on Conduct of Proceedings and ordered the parties and participants to, quote, to only upload material additional to the calling parties list to their presentation cues. It was the understanding of the defense, which they stated yesterday, that this ruling applied equally to all parties and participants so that when victims' counsel or a defense team lists an item on its presentation cue, the subsequent teams do not need to add the same item to their presentation cues. I will just ask, is there any objection to proceeding that way as far as the prosecution is concerned?
Your Honor, we believe that the respective defense teams, they should be uploading their respective presentation cues, because for us the most important thing is to know which defense team has got which documents for us to be able to first object if necessary and make some arguments knowing that there's a certain team with a certain strategy with certain documents.
Okay, so you do object to the belief expressed by the defense?
Yes, we do object to that, sir.
All right, so we will take that into consideration. Does anybody want to comment on it? I understand it's a question of wording in our own order, but we need to all be on the same page with it.
I understand, Judge. The idea is notice. The prosecution knows that the defense is going to use this document. It's notice. If one other defense counsel happens to see something on ours that they want to use, are they going to be precluded from using it because they overlooked it? Or,
Well, it's also simple just to put it in also.
well, or we could just say, as often happens in litigation, that incorporating into our queue is everything that other defense counsel incorporates in their queue that isn't listed here. So, I mean, we could do that as well, and that will satisfy them to put them on notice that whatever anybody else is going to put in, we're open to using that as well.
I understand the two positions. Mr. Emerson has.
I may be saying substantially the same thing, but the concern that I would have, first of all, the prosecution's position involves a reversion to the status quo ante before the ruling that Your Honour has just referred to. In other words, the suggestion that each defence team must identify in advance so that the prosecution can identify which documents that particular team is interested in would leave us in the position that, let us say, Mr. Kehoe cross-examines a witness at length on a particular document that wasn't in the prosecution's queue but is in his queue. We would find ourselves in the position where we couldn't use that document, even if there was evidence that emerged that was damaging to a different accused. In other words, one couldn't cross-examine further down the line on something that had been introduced in advance by one of the defence teams.
Yeah, it's possible you could say that any posting or presentation by one defense would allow all defense to access that.
Exactly.
That would be, well, but that would be somewhat understanding their position, but I understand the parties. I understand the positions. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I've said.
Go ahead, Mr. Tully.
Just from a practical point of view, Your Honour, the prosecution may shoot itself in the foot by demanding a hard line on this, because in practice, when it comes down to the crunch time of releasing these queues and putting them together, it may lead to, let's say, an over-copying of certain documents from other queues in order to cover bases. Of course, with good faith, with no bad intentions there, but it could be something that down the line leads to further complications, just to make that clear on the record. Thank you.
We seem to make complicated matters that shouldn't be, but we'll try to sort it out. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honour, speaking as the team going forth, I can well imagine there might be situations where a document is raised in an earlier cross-examination that we then have a question that we would wish to clarify or add something to. And it would seem to us that it's not right that we be precluded from doing that because it's not on our queue, but it is on someone else's.
All right, thank you, everybody, for your input. Anything from Victims' Counsel on this issue?
Thank you, Your Honour.
All right. So we will get back to you on that, give it some more thought. Today we, as I said, start hearing the evidence of 00072. We hope to complete this testimony today, as I've said, as the 1 week break could be very difficult. Please bring us into.
Your Honor, very briefly, before the witness is brought in, may I make a submission, a very short one?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would like to go very briefly into the private session before the witness is brought in to raise a very small matter.
We will go into private session then, thank you. Sorry, Madam Usher. Go ahead.
Your Honors, we're in public session now. Please bring the witness now. Thank you.
She should stay standing. Good morning, witness. Can you hear all right?
The microphone is not on.
Be sure to speak into the microphone as much as possible. I will read out a solemn declaration which you are asked to take pursuant to our Rule 141, Paragraph 2. I will ask you to repeat the text aloud and to indicate your consent. Do you understand what I'm going to do?
Yes.
So this is the statement, and please repeat it after I state it. Conscious of the significance of my testimony,
Svjesna značaja svog svjedočenja. Conscious of the significance of my testimony.
and my legal responsibility,
I svoje zakonske obaveze. And my legal responsibility. Svečano izjavljujem. I solemnly declare. Da ću govoriti. That I will tell the truth. Celu istinu. The whole truth. I samo istinu. And nothing but the truth. I da neću prečutiti. And that I shall not withhold anything.
knowledge.
Od svojih saznanja. Which has come to my knowledge.
You can be seated.
Hvala. Thank you.
Witness, today we will start your testimony, which is expected to last most of today, and possibly up to 7.5 hours. We will do everything we can to finish your testimony today. As you may know, the prosecution will ask you questions first, and then counsel for defense will have some questions, and once they are finished, the defense has the right to ask you questions. Members of the panel up here may also have some questions for you. The prosecution estimate for your examination is 1 hour. Victims' counsel will take approximately 20 minutes for questions. The defense estimates that it will need 6 hours. As regards each estimate, we hope that counsel will be judicious in the use of their time. The panel may also redirect examination if conditions for that are met. Witness, please try to answer the questions clearly and with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question or tell them that you don't understand and they will try to clarify for you. Also, please try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of facts and circumstances that you will be asked about. When answering a question, please speak into the microphone and wait 5 seconds before answering a question, and then speak at a slow pace so that the interpreters can stay with you. During the next days, while you are giving evidence in this court, you are not allowed to discuss with anyone the content of your testimony outside of the courtroom. If any person asks you questions outside of the courtroom, please let us know immediately. Please stop talking if I ask you to do so, and also stop talking if you see me raise my hand. These indications mean that I need to give you an instruction. If you feel the need to take breaks, please make an indication and an accommodation will be made. Do you understand all that?
Да. I do.
The oath that you took to tell the truth.
Да. Yes, I accept it.
Prosecution, this gentleman on your left will begin the questions. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Honors. Good morning, witness. My name is Cezar Michalczuk, and I'm the counsel for the prosecution. I'll be asking you questions today for approximately 1 hour. Could you please state for the record your name and your surname?
Božanić Dragica. My name is Dragica Božanić.
Could you also please give us your date of birth?
58. I was born in 1958. On the 14th of September.
In the past, you have given several statements to different authorities, and I will now call upon the screen, which is before you, all those statements one by one. Please follow the screens. By the way, do you have your glasses with you? Because I know you have some seeing impairment. Your Honor, I'll be calling all the prior statements first, and I'll proceed after it with all the Rule 154 formalities, if that's okay. Madam Court Officer, could you please call up the document? It's going to be English and Serbian on the screen. 041 400 TR ET Part 1 red. And the same number for the Serbian document with the ending ST, please. Witness, do you see the documents on the screen before you?
Да. Yes, I do.
Interview dated 16th of December 2016. Do you recognize it?
Да. Yes. Yes, sir. I did.
We proceed with another set of documents, again, English and Serbian on this screen. The ERN number would be 005300 TRET red, and the Serbian the same without the ET. Do you see these documents on the screen, witness?
Vidi. I do.
This refers to an interview dated 17th of July 2013. Do you recognize it?
Да. Yes. Yes. I did.
Madam Court Officer, can I have, please, the next set of documents, both Serbian and English. For English, it's SITF 000-26363 to SITF 000-26393 red. And the same number is for Serbian document with the ST at the end. Witness, do you see also these documents before you?
Da, vidi. Yes, I see it.
To the witness hearing conducted on the 26th of October 2010, do you recognize that statement?
Da. Yes.
Madam Court Officer, if we could scroll down to the last page of the English document, and this last page would be SITF 000-26370. Yes, this is the one. Yes. Witness, there are some signatures at the bottom of that page. Can you see them?
Vidi. I see them. Da. Yes.
Madam Court Officer, could we now have just one document which contains both English and Serbian version? The number is SPOE 00193-498 to 00193-547 red. So this is the English version, and the same document from pages SPOE 00193523. Is it possible to upload the same document on the left-hand side? So let's do it, please. And in this one, let's move to page again, SPOE 00193523. Witness, do you see the statement in both versions on your screen?
Da. Yes.
Witness hearing conducted on the 10th of December 2005. Do you recognize it?
Da. Yes. Kao što sam rekla, ne vidim. As I've already said, I cannot read quickly with these glasses that I have, but yes.
Glasses, please ask. This could be provided because we'll be probably showing you later also some documents, and it's better for you to be able to see clearly. Are you fine with the glasses that you have?
Well, for starters, it's enough, but if I'd have to read more or longer, it bothers my eyes to read.
And the assistance will be provided if necessary.
Just a moment. Witness, when needed, the attorneys will read the document to you so you don't have to strain your eyes. Do you understand that?
Da.
Okay.
Yes.
Witness during your witness preparation session with me that took place on the 10th and 11th of July 2023, were you given an opportunity to review all those prior statements?
Ne mogu da se setim sve.
Oh, I can't remember everything. I think that yes, it was so.
Last month, I'm talking about 11th, 10th July this year.
Da.
Yes. I received them. I read them. I took it with me, but I left it up there where we are right now.
You made some clarifications to these statements during that preparatory meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Were those clarifications that you made reflected in the note that I read back to you at the end of the preparation meeting?
Da.
Yes.
You confirm that what was read back to you in the note reflected your clarifications fully and accurately?
Jest.
Yes.
Provided in the preparation note, do your written statements accurately reflect your evidence and what you would say if you were asked again the same questions in court?
Da, stoji to sve.
Yes, they do. Everything is recorded in my statement. As I said, everything stands as it is. I did not add anything. Whatever was most important, I remembered it. I said it when I gave my first statement, and that's how it is.
Having fulfilled the criteria under Rule 154, I seek the admission of the prior statements, and I'm going to just read them quickly to the record. So first, it's going to be 041400-TR-ET, Part 1, read, and the same for the Serbian and Albanian versions of this statement. The second one would be 00530, -TR-ET, read. Serbian would be 005300, TR, read, and Albanian would be 005300-TR-AT, Part 1, read. The next one would be SITF 000-26363 to SITF 000-26393, read. For Serbian, it's the same ERN number with ST at the end, and for Albanian, it's the same with the AT at the end. And the last one, the fourth statement, would have the following numbers. It would be, for English, SPOE 001-93498 to 001-93547, read. And it is the same also for Serbian, whereas the Albanian version would be SPOE 00193498 to SPOE 00193522-AT, read. And Your Honors, I further tendered the associate exhibits to these statements, and they were identified in the decision F01664, and the relevant ERNs of these associated exhibits are set out in the SPO Rule 154 motion, that is F01625, Annex 5. Do I need to read all those ERNs? Your Honors, I also seek the admission of Preparation Note 1, dated 11th of July, 2023, with the ERN 114367 to 114371. That concludes the Rule 154 submissions on my part.
Subject to prior objections to the motion, we have no further objections.
Anybody else? No objection being heard. The enumerated statements plus the associated exhibits plus the preparation notes are all admitted under 154. And you may give a number if you're ready to do it for each.
Thank you, Honors. The first statement under ERN 041400 TR ET Part 1 read and its accompanying translations will be Exhibit P 355. The second statement, ERN 005300 TR ET read together with the Albanian and Serbian versions will be Exhibit P 356. Third statement, SITF 00026363 to SITF 00026393 RED and the Serbian and Albanian versions to it will be Exhibit P 357. Fourth statement, SPOE 00193498 to 00193547 RED, which is combined with the Serbian, and the Albanian version SPOE 00193498 to SPOE 0019352280 read will be Exhibit P 358. The associated exhibits, first one with ERN for Serbian 033103 to 033109. And the English and Albanian versions as listed in filing F1625 Annex 05 will be Exhibit P 359. The second associated exhibit, SPOE 00200658 to 00200679, together with the Albanian and Serbian versions will be Exhibit P 360. The third associated exhibit.
Excuse me, 360?
360, yes. Third associated exhibit, SPOE 00191-479 to 00191-484 RED, and the Albanian translation will be Exhibit P 361. The fourth associated exhibit with SPOE 00191-289 to 00191-299 RED, and the Albanian translation will be Exhibit P 362. And lastly, Your Honors, the preparation note with ERN 114347 to 114371 will be Exhibit P 363. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. You may continue.
Yes, Your Honors, I would like to read the summary of evidence of this witness. It's very brief. I sent it to the parties and the panel on the 14th of August 2023.
Go ahead.
In July 1998, witness Dragica Božanić lived with her family in her village in the municipality of Orahovac, Rahovec. During the night between 17th and 18th of July, 1998, the witness, her family members, and other members of the Serbian community of her village were attacked by the KLA in her house. In the morning of 18th of July 1998, the Serbs of her village surrendered to the KLA and then were driven to a nearby village. Upon arrival, the KLA separated men from women. Men, including the witness's husband and son, were put into the basement of a house, whereas women stayed in the same building in its upper part. The witness could hear the Serb man being beaten. The witness was questioned by the KLA about her cousin and her son, who both served in the Serbian army. In the morning of 19th of July, 1998, the KLA soldiers brought the witness to her husband, who gave her a handwritten letter to be delivered to the Serb inhabitants of Zocista village, urging them to surrender to the KLA. On that occasion, the witness saw bruises on her husband's face. On the same day, all Serb women from the witness's village were driven by the KLA soldiers to Zocista, where the witness delivered the letter from her husband. The detained Serb men were kept behind. The women were later taken to a monastery, where they stayed for 2 days until fighting resumed. Then the KLA moved all civilians to Semetisht and detained them for 1 night in the local school building. Some of the Serbs were interrogated by the KLA there. The next day, the witness and other Serb detainees were released to the ICRC. The witness never saw her husband and son alive again. This concludes the summary of this witness's evidence. Your Honors, I will now have a few clarifying questions to be put to this witness.
Go ahead.
Witness, I have a few questions for you. In your prior statements, you indicated that your husband was a teacher. Is that the case?
Da, bio je.
Yes, he was a teacher, a professor, and he was also a director. Principal, that is.
Was your husband also a member of Serbian military or police in 1998?
Ne, moj su...
No, my husband never served the army. He had a kidney disease, and as a result of that, he never served the army.
Did all the men of your village have the obligation to undergo a military service?
Pa koliko ja znam,
Well, as far as I know, the other men did have this obligation, but my husband did not.
Did that also include the Albanian inhabitants of the village?
jeste, ba...
Yes, this was in force up until the year, let me try and remember, 1982. It was in 1982 when foment started down there, the protests and so on, and after that they stopped going to do the military service. The Albanians did not go into the army to do their military service, and the Serbs continue to do so.
Did also Albanians from the village have to undergo the mandatory military service in the Yugoslav army?
Yes.
Yes.
Speaking of your husband, did he socialize with Albanians from your village?
Jest.
Yes, he did.
Your Honors, could we go briefly into private session for the reasons mentioned before?
Private session, please.
Your Honors, we're in public session.
Witness, did the person whose name I mentioned a while ago in the private session, did that person know your husband well?
Da.
Yes.
Pa,
Well, how come? We lived in the same village, so we knew one another. He made the doors and the windows for our house. When we built the house, he would come to visit us. And he also came to see if he could reach an agreement with my husband that they, the Albanians, had no reason for making any trouble. There were few of us Serbs, only 10 households. So they reached an agreement that if anything should happen from our side, that he would guard us, he would protect us, and we would protect them if trouble came from their side, and the other way around. And they agreed that it would go like that. But unfortunately, it was my husband who kept his word, because they called him asking if they should come and provide any assistance, and he did not allow that. But the other man did not keep his word, and they just collected us. They attacked us on the 17th, between the 17th and the 18th of July. On the 18th of July, they collected us from our courtyard, and when I saw this man, I was very surprised, because the agreement that had been reached was otherwise. So they got us there, they broke into the houses, they searched for something, I don't know for what. They told us, sit down, all of you, sit down on the ground. So we sat down. My son was injured because they had thrown a hand grenade on our house, and he fell down, and he was bruised by bricks on his face, and his eyes were injured too. And when I saw that, I cried all the time, and I was not sure what I was to do anymore.
Or your loved ones, I would like just to come back to my question very briefly, and the story that you are telling, we have already in your statement, so the court and the parties are aware of this. So, speaking about that person that we mentioned, whose name we mentioned in the private session, since when he had known your husband?
pa od kada
Well, I couldn't tell you exactly, but they knew each other well. And lately, really, I mean, when we were building our house, he came to make and set our doors. So if they hadn't known each other so well, he certainly wouldn't have come to visit my husband to try and reach an agreement with him, because there were other Serbs, other men in the village, and he could have gone to somebody else for this agreement. So I know that my husband was not a bad man, and he socialized more with Albanians than with the Serbs. They used to go out together. They would meet in shops. So I don't know what else I could tell you. I know quite well that he really did socialize with the people that he used to socialize with.
Da, i se...
Yes, from the village, and yes, both others from the village and with this particular man. And everybody knows that.
I understand. In your prior statements, you indicated several men who were detained by the KLA in your village in July 1998. You gave several names of men, and my question to you is this. Was any of these men active members of the Serbian army or police at the time of that detention or arrest?
Ja koliko znam,
As far as I know, they were not.
What were their professions at that time, July 1998?
poljoprivredom.
They were farmers. Those who were employed would go to work, those who were not would not. Mostly they were just farmers, agricultural workers.
Two questions about two particular individuals, two men from your village. Spasoje Spasa Burdzic. When was he born, if you know?
Pa tu je u Opteruš.
Right there in Opterusha village.
Sad, ja...
Well, as for their years of birth, I have forgotten them. But as I already said, I even tend to forget the year when my son and my husband were born. I only try to remember from time to time so I wouldn't completely forget this information.
There Boško Božanić, maybe you remember the year when he was born?
On je...
He was born in 1938.
Ja mislim tako.
At least that's what I think.
These men from your village, arrested in July 1998 by the KLA, did they take part in any fighting against the KLA before 17th of July 1998?
Ne.
No.
Was there any fighting in the region between the KLA, involving the KLA before 17th of July 1998? To the best of your knowledge.
Ne.
No, no. except for that day between the 17th and the 18th, when we were attacked. And the fighting then lasted from 1 until the morning. And before that, no, nothing ever happened.
Speaking about your village at that time, could you tell the court where the houses of Albanians and Serbs were located in the village in relation to each other? Far from each other, close to each other?
Pa više je
There were more Albanian houses. As I said, it may have been 260 Albanian households and 10 Serb ones. We were not far away. It was just across the road where they lived. And there were these 10 houses. So the neighbors behind our house were Albanians, and in the other direction as well. So we were not separated in any way.
Understand. Where were the fields worked by the Serbs of your village located in relation to the fields of the Albanian inhabitants of the village? Close to each other, far from each other?
Jeste, bilo je pomešano.
Yes, the fields were mixed. There were Serb-owned ones and Albanian-owned ones. Everything was mixed, and everything just went on normally.
Fields were close to each other, next to each other, far from each other. Could you clarify it a bit more?
Jeste, bilo je.
Yes, right. There were fields. There would be their field, and then the next one was one owned by a Serb, and it was mixed in that way.
Were the Albanians and Serbs of the village seeing each other while working their respective fields?
Pa svaki dan.
On a daily basis, every day. I used to go out into the fields as well and till them. We would go out there in the fields, and previously that's how it went. People would step aside to let me walk by. There was mutual respect of that kind, but unfortunately the agreement did not work out as planned.
Before the events of July 1998, did the Albanian and Serbian communities of your village interact socially with one another?
Slabo.
Hardly, and in the latest period, very rarely, or not at all.
Period immediately before the attack that happened in July 1998. I'm talking about the period before that, before any interethnic tensions, so to speak. Did they interact socially or not?
Pa kažem vam,
Well, as I've told you, they did socialize, but not as before. However, we did not expect that the things that happened to us would befall us, and simply the socializing was not as it had been before.
From your statements, it seems that two members of the Serbian community of your village served in the army. I'm talking about your older son and the person named Zlatko Bojanic. Is that correct?
da.
Yes.
On the day when the attack by the KLA happened, 17th of July 1998, were these two persons present in the village?
Ne.
No. My husband had sent my son to volunteer in the army so that he would serve his service, his mandatory service, and he wasn't meant to stay there for a long time. He should complete that, come back, get married. That was the custom. So he was sent to the army on the 24th of July by my husband. He volunteered. And as for Božanić Zlatko, he was a mercenary in Prizren. He went to work there for money because he wasn't able to get a job as a teacher. So he went to work for the army. He was paid. He was a mercenary. He wasn't really a military. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a military mercenary. He worked for the military. Everyone knows that in our village.
Mm-hmm. To the best of your knowledge, was it known in the village that your son and Zlatko Božanić were not in the village on the 17th of July 1998?
Da, znali.
Yes, they did know. Some people told my husband when our son went to join the army, how come you didn't tell us? We would have come to say goodbye. Now, I don't know who these were. They were probably some older people who would say that. They also knew that Zlatko was in prison, that he was in the military and paid by the army.
Are we talking about the Albanian villagers who, as you said to your husband, how come you didn't tell us? We would have come to say goodbye.
Da.
Yes.
Let me slightly change the topic, if I may. When you were detained, were you informed by the KLM members about the reasons for your detention? For your detention?
Ne.
No.
We know that also some other women were detained and they were with you first in one location. You mentioned Pečane, then in Zločiste, Semetište. Did any of these women tell you that they were given the reason for their detention?
Ne.
No, no one said anything to us. Either to us from my village or to the people from the other village. They just said, we did not capture you in order to kill you, because had we wanted to kill you, we would have done that in your own yard. So that's all they said, and people were still kept detained there in that house.
You said, they just said we didn't capture you in order to kill you. Who said that to whom and when, if you could tell us? So who said that first?
Pa ne znam čovek.
I don't know the men. These were armed men, young men. There was also a woman with them, but I don't know who they were. I didn't know them. But these words weren't uttered in that house where we were detained. They were said to us when we were in our own yard outside our home, when they actually came to capture us.
And so they were said on that day when the fighting stopped in your village, were they said by those armed men who attacked your house? Is that what you are saying? Just to clarify this issue.
Nepoznat.
I didn't know the man who said that.
The name, or you should give more details about that person. But these words that you mentioned, that we didn't want to kill you or something to that effect, what are they said by those people, or one of those people, who attacked your house in your village after the attack ended? Is that what you're saying?
Da.
Yes.
Last time when you saw your husband and your son was in Pechane, is that correct?
Da.
Yes.
LA members provide you with any information regarding them after you had left Pechane?
Ne.
No.
At some point, we know from your statements that you were released to the ICRC, Red Cross. Is that correct?
Pušteni na slobodu.
We were released. Well, that was when they captured us the second time. There were two occasions. There was when I handed a letter to my husband. That was when they originally took us, and then they sent us to stay at the monastery in Zocište, where we stayed for 2 nights. And then on the second night, in the morning after that night, the monastery in Zocište was attacked. A shell landed on the monastery's sleeping quarters for the monks. And then we all went out into the yard. The monks said that we have to surrender, so they spread out some kind of white sheet and as a symbol of that we're surrendering. And then we were again rounded up there and taken from the monastery to the center of the village. They put us on buses, and then they took us to another village, Semetište, using the same road. Now, we spent a whole day and a whole night there. We were all questioned one by one. We were guarded all night. They were around us all the time. We didn't dare move. And there was a man who was kept for the entire night. The monk, when he was taken out, he was kept the entire night away. And then when he came back in the morning, he kept hiding his hands so we wouldn't see the bruises there. And then my aunt asked him about where they were. He said that they were not far away. And then I asked about the International Red Cross. She mentioned that he said that the Red Cross would come to take us, but it was difficult. Even with the help of the Red Cross, it was very hard to get out. It took a lot of difficulty to be released. It took a long time.
Were you given by the KLA any release papers and release documents?
Ne.
No.
To the best of your knowledge, were the other detained Serbs given such release documents by the KLA?
Ne. Tu što smo bili mi žene i
No. As far as the place where we women and elderly men were concerned, no. There, we weren't issued anything.
Let me move on and slightly change the topic again. From your prior statements, we know that one of the women from your village detained together with you was Slavica Banjic. Did she ever tell you anything about seeing the detained Serb men from your village?
jeste.
Yes, this was in Pečane village. She managed to get down there, I don't know how. I wasn't very alert because I took a lot of medication then. She went into the basement. She managed to get there and she saw the men. She said that there was hay on the ground and they were all on the ground. They were not allowed to get up. She just got to the door and saw that they were there.
Did she tell you that she recognized anybody, or did she recognize all the men from your village? What did she tell you?
Da, videla.
Yes, she saw her husband, she saw my son. Well, there were 8 of our men there.
When did Slavica Banjic tell you about all this? When was it when she told you?
Pa to večer.
That same evening, when she went down to the village and came back, and she saw them there, that's when she told us.
Still in Pečane? Or later on in Zociste? When she told you about it?
U Pečane.
In Pečane.
In your statements, you also mentioned a woman named Petra Kostic from the village of Retimlje, and that in July 1998 you met her in Zociste monastery. Did she tell you anything about what happened to the Serb man from her village of Retimlje?
Jeste.
Yes, she did. I didn't meet her there at the monastery. We were friends. Our daughter is married to one of our relatives.
Kad nas je videla,
When she saw us, she started crying. My God, what happened to them? What happened to us? Because what happened was they were rounded up, and we were rounded up in the morning, whereas they were rounded up in the afternoon at Retimlje. So we both sat there and cried. What could we do?
Did Petra Kostic tell you who rounded them up in Retimlje?
da,
Yes, she said the same things that I said. She was an elderly woman, so she knew people. She was acquainted with more people. She knew people she knew their names, and she said they were from their own village as well. Perhaps there were some other men with them, but she said I couldn't look and try to figure out who they were. I was just worried about my sons and wondering what would happen.
Similarly to your case, was she also talking about Albanians from her village who rounded the Serbs from Retimlia up?
Da.
Yes.
Those Albanian people were in uniforms, civilian clothing. Did she tell you anything about that?
They were both in civilian clothing, but also in other clothes. It seems to me that these were the same people, the same kind of people, both in our village and in their village, but in their village, they were the men from their village.
Speaking about Petra Kostic still, did she mention to you in any context Srećko Simić?
Srećko Simić, she did mention, but he was captured with us. He was from our village. He was in the same house with us, but in the morning they came and they addressed him. They said, "You, old man, you're coming with us and we'll bring you back," but they never brought him back.
Did she tell you about Srećko Simić?
Rekla je da
She said that they had taken him to Retimlje, down to Retimlje. We knew that Srećko was taken, but he didn't tell us anything about it, and they did not return him after that. We'd never seen him either in where we were, or where they were.
Briefly come back to that issue. So Petra Kostic told you something about Srećko Simić. Do you remember what exactly did she tell you? About him?
ne, samo je
No, she just said they brought Srećko to where we were, and they hoped that their sons would be released and all the other Kostićes that they would be released. But that's all she said. I guess she was hoping for that, but it didn't happen. She never saw him or Petar or anyone else again.
Whether Srećko Simić conveyed any message to the village of Retimlje, or she didn't say anything to that effect?
nije.
No, she didn't.
In your statements, you also mentioned another woman named Mirjana Nikolić, another woman from Retimlje, and that in July 1998, you met her in Zociste Monastery. Did Mirjana Nikolić tell you anything about what happened to the Serb men from her village?
Pa ništa,
Well, nobody else said anything. She just kept crying and kept repeating, "My God, why did this happen? We didn't deserve this." She didn't say anything else. She was very reserved. She was very quiet. She just kept crying.
She mentioned and the
She was pregnant at the time, but she was just saying crying.
and the family members of hers who were detained.
Da.
Yes. Her husband and her son, her young son. He was 16 or 17.
The last person I would like to ask you about is a woman named Olgica Bojanic, and you indicated in your statements that you knew that person. Who is she? Olgica Bojanic.
Olgica Božanić.
Olgica Bojanic was the daughter of Petra. She was married. She was born as a Kostic, but she was married to a Bojanic man. So she was a sister-in-law of sorts.
In relation to you?
U isto.
Well, we lived in the same compound and we shared the same yard. There was a big house. We all lived in the same house. There were several entrances and several different parts of the house. But her husband and she worked in Orahoc, so then they would come every week or every Sunday to the house there.
I understand she was not in your house when the attack happened on the 17th of July, 1998, but did you ever tell her what happened to you and your family and the other Serbs from your village?
Da.
Yes, Olgica was not present when we were attacked. She was in Orahoc because that's where they lived. But when we saw each other the first time after these events, I told her everything. I told her my story. And because she was a very reasonable woman, and everything she knows, everything I knew, she knows. She knows my truth. Olgica, she was the first person I told my story because when I saw her for the first time after the events, I considered her a very reasonable, educated woman, and I felt that people should know what had happened. So she knows all about the events and she also goes to all the meetings that deal with these issues from Opterush and other places, but she's our spokesperson, as it were. She takes care of all of our issues related to the events, and she knows everything about them.
She's speaking on behalf of us. What do you mean by that?
Ne razumem kako mi.
I don't understand what you're asking me. I haven't understood your question.
Make it clearer. You said that Olgica Bojanic is your spokesperson, as it were. She takes care of all our issues related to the events. She knows everything about them. So my question is, you said she's our spokesperson. By saying our spokesperson, what do you mean by us?
Well, me, my own story, my truth, my aunt, my mother-in-law, there were 4 other women from the village. So I told her the story. She knows the whole story, just as I've said in my statement. And so I told her, if you can, please go on. You take care of these matters because I'm unable to do it. I'm not well. So she works on behalf of us, as it were, through this association. But she's not a witness, but I am a witness.
When was it when you told her your story? When was it, if you remember?
I can't exactly remember the date, but this was soon after we were released. And when I went to my uncle in Vrnjačka Banja with my aunt and my daughter-in-law, where she too had visited her uncle in Kraljevo, and when she heard that I was there, we met up, and that's when I told her about it. She was there for about 4 to 5. It would have been 4 to 5 days, not very long.
To the best of your knowledge, did Olgica Božanić try to obtain information about the missing persons from your village?
Dosta je pokušala.
Oh, she did a lot. She tried everything. To this day, she's been busy with this, but unfortunately,
For the truth, if you will, did she also approach the KLA or any KLA representatives to find out what happened to the missing persons from your village?
Ne, ja
no, as far as I know, we had no access to our village anymore. No one could go there.
I'm not talking only about your village. I'm asking you whether you know anything about Olgica Božanić reaching out to any KLA members or representatives, trying to find out what happened to the missing man from your village.
ne.
No, as far as I know, she didn't. She would tell me because I asked her to let me know whenever she undertook something, to find out something. I asked her to let me know, and as far as I know, she hadn't tried to approach any of them.
Obtain any information about the fate of the missing man from your village?
Ne.
No. The only thing was that when DNA analysis was performed, and this, I don't know through what channels this was done, but when we were supposed to take over the bones in 2006, that's the only thing I know.
I've got 2 or 3 last questions for you. Did you take part in any demonstrations, marches or protests organized with regard to the missing Serbs in 1998?
Da.
Yes. We set out from Orahovac towards Dragobilje together. The president of the Orahovac municipality suggested that, so that we gathered together and we marched for about 13 kilometers. We decided to do it, what come what may. If they were to kill us, let it be. And this had to do with an agreement with William Walker.
And when did that protest or march or gathering take place? Do you remember when?
But
I think, I don't know exactly, as unfortunately I did not note everything down because I did not know what was in store for me. I didn't write down or note anything, but I know that it was winter time and that we were walking on foot. We had this meeting and conversation with William Walker, the president of the municipality was there, but we did not manage to achieve anything by that.
98? You said winter, but was it still this same year, 1998?
Pane,
Well, no, it wasn't in 1998 because William Walker was not there yet in 1998.
One last question about this issue. Could you clarify to the court what was the particular reason why you decided to take part in that march?
to su čuli kao
When they learned that they were kept there, those who had been kidnapped, we went there for that reason, so that William Walker would help us if they were still alive, so that he would do something for them. But unfortunately, nothing came out of that.
My question is more precisely, did many people attend that particular march?
Yes, išli
Yes, we did go together, and there were quite a number of us, yes.
Hundreds of people, more than that, less than that?
pa
Well, I did not count as many as 100, and there weren't that many people, I think, who could have joined. Everyone was afraid what would happen. Would they kill us all? If they should do that, they would kill the whole group of us that was there. I was not afraid for myself personally, but others who had come to support us, well, then, of course, it was only normal for them to feel afraid.
Your Honors, I don't have any further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Mr. Laws?
Thank you, Your Honour. Good morning, Mrs. Bosnich. As you know, I am counsel for the victims in this case. I'm going to start by asking you some questions about the history of your family, all right?
Yes,
Isn't it that you were born in Kosovo?
da,
yes,
Parents also born in Kosovo?
da,
yes,
Also born in Kosovo?
da,
yes,
As you know, if we went back further than that, would the answer be the same?
Pa koliko ja znam,
As far as I know, the parents of my grandparents were, and so were their parents, so yes.
Did you consider Kosovo your home?
yes.
Yes.
Could you describe, please, your life there before the war? How would you describe it for us?
Živile smo,
We lived normally. When I was a child and as I was growing up and got married, life was normal. Everybody lived in the same way. We were just not of the same religion, but we socialized, and when we celebrated Easter, they would come to greet us. We would go to visit them when they had their religious holidays. When I got married, again, there were celebrations together. We lived mixed in the same village. We lived nicely together, and on a bus, as I was going out to the field or in the street, people would stand up to free a seat for me if I was older than them. My father-in-law was also a good man and was widely known. And that was how it worked. People would tell one another, please would you get up so that the lady could sit down. So even the elderly people would vacate a seat on a bus for me to sit down. So everything was nice and good. But since the digging of trenches started, and when we saw that happening, we still did not believe what would happen to us. We were not aware of that, because we trusted what had been agreed on that one occasion that I mentioned.
For you personally, was it a happy life?
da.
Yes. Life was happy and good. We did our farming. We went everywhere together with our co-villagers. We had our gardens next to each other. We would talk. So, yes, it was happy when the events I talked about happened. My life changed completely in all of its aspects. Mentally, physically, in terms of my behavior, I'm no longer the same person that I used to be. But thank God, I now have a granddaughter who was born amid all this misfortune, and I think this preserved my mental health, so I'm still normal. And to be strong still 25 years later, and to keep searching for my son and my husband and everyone else who perished in this way is really very hard. It's not easy, and I would not wish any other parent to live through what I have been through. When they took my son away from me, snatched him from my arms, so to speak, it's as if you lost one half of your heart, and the other half I still have left for the other part of my family. And this is how I live on, and I shall die with this, and I will take these thoughts with me when I expire my last breath. I will be thinking about my son and my husband. And as I said, I would go to the ends of the world, to the ends of the earth, just to reach the truth. I haven't said anything that is bad and I'm not saying anything that did not happen. I talked about what caused me the most pain, and I didn't know that I would reach this point, but I gave a statement about things that hurt me the most, and my statement stands as it is, and I stand by it. I think that for a parent, even 5 years would be too much, let alone 25 years of living in uncertainty. They had no strength to say, well, they were killed, there they are, where they are buried, go there and take over their remains. We were not bad people. We had no conflict with anyone. My husband or my father-in-law, they had no disputes with anyone, no. And that is why I'm very sorry that things happened in this way. We were not very numerous. 4 men and 5 or 6 women. They could have come to our place and they could have told us, leave everything here and just go away, rather than round us up in this way and take away young men who had not finished their education and had not done their military service. My son was 16. So what would a child like that know? He was a peasant child. He did go to school, but a peasant child minds more the way he's brought up at home. My children were praised by all the Albanians in the village, and they told my husband also that my children were good. Our children, they told that to my husband and to me, that we really had nice children.
Thank you. Is it correct that you no longer live in Kosovo? You don't need to tell us where you do live, but you no longer live in Kosovo.
Ne.
No, I do not live in Kosovo. Since the day when they kidnapped us and when they released us, they told us, go to Serbia, go to whoever you have there. There's nothing for you to do here in your village, in Opterusha. There's nobody left there, and you shall not be there anymore. So the ICRC took us over, and we were at their premises in Pristina, where I gave my first statement, and then on the following day we were transported further. My husband's cousin came for us, and together with my aunt and with my mother-in-law, I left together with him.
Does it feel possible to you that you could ever return to live in Kosovo?
Ne.
No. No, after such a misfortune, what could I expect to happen in future among the Albanians? No return was possible. Even if it had been possible, I wouldn't have returned. Too many bad things had happened, and I have this bad image that I'm facing all the time, so I would never go back there.
Thank you, Mrs. Bosnich. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Laws. Mr. Keel?
Witness, my name is Greg Kehoe. I'd like just to say at the outset, I represent President Thaçi, but we would, our condolences on your loss, and I'm sorry for your loss. Ma'am, I just want to ask you a few questions about some of the matters that were brought up. And you were asked this morning some questions about whether any of the men that were in the village on the 17th of July had been in the Serb Army, and you said no. Now, I think you also said in your statements that many of the men that were in your village were armed with various weapons, rifles, pistols, etc. Is that right?
Da.
Yes.
During when the conflicts began in Kosovo, it's correct that the Serb authorities provided weapons to the civilians in individual villages, didn't they?
Ja se izvinjavam slabo.
I apologize, but I don't hear you well.
Heard.
Da.
Yes.
Now, when matters became difficult in Kosovo in the 90s, it's true, is it not, that the Serb authorities provided weapons to civilians in the individual villages, didn't they?
To je bilo pre toga.
That was before.
Ne je bilo.
Now, what year it happened, I wouldn't know. But it did not happen then. It was perhaps in the year, I don't know which year, but quite a while before those events.
It is a fact that the men that were in your village that had received weapons from from Serbia, didn't they?
Da.
Yes.
Were giving weapons to civilians at demonstrations, weren't they?
Ne.
No, not at protests. That was distributed to men, I think, to each and every man. My husband did not have, or was not given one, because he didn't know how to use a weapon, and my son was also too young, so he was also not issued a weapon.
Let me turn our attention to what is P356. In the English and Serbian, English will be at page 12, line 24 to page 13, line 4, and in the Serbian, it will be page 12, line 15 to 19. And I will read this to you, witness. So the question is, do you know where they procured the weapons? Answer, during the demonstrations in Kosovo, people were given weapons. Whoever got it, it was then that they got it. Do you recall saying that in this interview that you gave, that the prosecution just put into evidence, that they got weapons at demonstrations?
U vreme
You mean during the time of the demonstrations by them, their demonstrations?
I am just reading the interview that you gave that the prosecution put into evidence. And you noted that during the demonstrations in Kosovo, people were given weapons. So were you talking about during demonstrations in Kosovo, the Serb authorities gave the Serbs weapons?
Ne u vreme srpske.
Not at the time of Serb demonstrations. We Serbs did not demonstrate, but it was the Albanians who demonstrated when they had their demonstrations. That was the time.
The Serb authorities gave the Serb civilian population weapons. Is that correct?
Da.
Yes.
Also correct, based on your conversation with others, that the Serb authorities were giving Serb civilians weapons all over Kosovo, weren't they?
Ja ne znam za širom.
I don't know about all over Kosovo because I have no knowledge about rifles or weapons or any of that. I just know that my husband had a pistol that he had bought, and I knew what a pistol was, but as for rifles, I hadn't even ever seen one.
The day that the incident took place and a lot of the Serbs in the village came to your house, right?
Pa to što su bili, da.
Yes, those who were there, for men and for women.
Came to your house, they brought with them the rifles that the Serb authorities had given them, right?
Ja nisam videla.
I did not see that.
See that they brought rifles with them, right?
Ako su doneli,
If they brought them, then they did, but I did not see that. Only it was when the shooting started that I became aware that they had rifles.
When the shooting started, that you were aware that the Serb men that were at your house had rifles. That's correct, isn't it?
no.
Yes.
Now, they also had with them, when they came to your house, they had ammunition as well as bulletproof vests, didn't they?
Mislite na...
You mean us, Serbs?
Ne.
No. No. Slavica Bandžić had a vest. She was wearing it, but she was not armed, nor did she have a rifle or anything. She just had a vest on.
Now, was this a vest that contained ammunition with it?
Ne, ne, ne.
No, no, no. It was a military vest, but she didn't have anything in it. She just put it on, that was all.
Did she have ammunition with her?
Ne.
No.
Let me review with you, and let me bring up on, this will be SITF 000624949 to SITF 000634040, in English at 71. It will be the same number, SIF number for the Albanian, and there is no Serb number. That's 71. And this was in one of in your prior testimony. The presiding judge asked you, did she mention anything about taking anything from her? Well, a hunting rifle, vest, ammunition, and so on. And where was it? From her arms. Was she holding a rifle in her hands? She wasn't holding it, but my rifle was with her. And who were you talking about in that testimony that had the ammunition? Do you recall?
Moja puška.
My rifle? No. It's a mistake. I did not have a rifle, nor did I ever take a rifle in my hands. And she had, I think, a hunting rifle, and she left it in the cart that we used to go out to fields in. She left it there in our cart, but I hadn't even known that. I have never had a rifle.
Not your testimony, this is Milan Bonic's testimony, and I stand corrected on that.
That's what I wanted to also raise.
Oh, thank you, okay. But the woman that came there, was she in possession of a rifle and ammunition?
Ja
You said the woman who came there? Which
The woman
women?
that she was talking about previously. The woman that you were talking about, was she armed and did she have ammunition? The woman you were talking about with the hunting vest? I think you're talking about Slavica Bonic.
Da, ali ja...
Yes, but let me not repeat and let me not say something that I haven't said before. I didn't see the rifle, I saw the vest that she was wearing. She was there at my house, but she had left it in the cart with horses that we used to go out to the fields in. So this is something that I hadn't seen, and if I do not know something personally, I think you shouldn't be asking me about it, but you should rather ask her.
Questions, and just to see if you know, witness, if you don't know, that's fine. If you don't recall, that's fine. So I'm not asking you for any information about anything you don't know, okay? I'm not going to do that. So, so just moving on, you would agree with me that prior to the night in question, the Serb authorities had given weapons to Serb civilians, and that when the individuals from your village came to your house, they came to your house armed with weapons. Is that right?
Rekla sam da nisam vedela.
Well, I have told you that I had not seen any weapons.
It's about time for the morning break if you
Oh,
want
yes,
to.
Your Honor, my apologies, I lost track of time.
That's all right. Witness, we will give you a half-hour break now. The court usher will take you out. Please go to or public session. Oh, we are in public session, I'm sorry. You may escort her out. So we will see you back here at 11:30. All right, we are adjourned until 11:30.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. We remain in public session. Madam Court Usher, please bring the witness in. Oh, I pushed it off. Can you hear me all right, ma'am?
Da.
Yes.
Continue with his questions. Go ahead.
Witness, I hope you had a break and something, coffee. I just wanted to ask you a couple of clarifying questions, and I won't be too long. Right before the break, and this is at page 50, line 3, you said, "I have told you that I had not seen any weapons." And I would like to go back to your testimony in Belgrade on the 6th of June, excuse me, the 28th of June, 2011, in the Kabashi trial. And that would be SITF 000275570 to 27610, and this would be at page 27588. And I believe the Serbian is on the same page. But let me just read for you what your testimony. This is your testimony at the trial in Belgrade. And you were asked, did all of the men have weapons in the house? And you testified, my husband did not. He had a pistol he had bought. He was not in the army, and he did not have any weapons, neither my husband nor my son. Novica did. but he worked with the rockets in the vineyards. I don't know how to explain this. Question. Am I supposed to understand that apart from her husband and her son, the others were armed also? And your answer is yes, they had the weapons that they had left there. It depends who had what. I don't know what they had. Now, continuing on in that trial, same trial, your same testimony in Belgrade, and these will be pages SITF 0006299 to 63040 at page 13. And I do not believe that there is a Serb translation. And the judge in Belgrade asked you, tell me, did the men have any weapons on them? And you responded, yes. Where did they get the weapons from? And you answered, my husband had no weapon, but he was not with the military. My son didn't have any weapon. Novica was a reserve forces police officer in the Ohrovac municipality, Zerza. My uncle had no rifle. Those ones that had rifles, well, let me tell you, it was, I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to tell you. And the judge then asks, well, who had them? Mention the names. Who had their rifles on them? You say Novica, and who else? And you say, well, Novica had a rifle that was issued to him by the reserve forces. The judge asks, fine. Anyone else? And you respond, well, the neighbors had some weapons on them. Question, what neighbor? Well, Predag, whatever his actual name is, I can't recall. And the presiding judge asks, Miodrag Burčić, and you say yes. So are Predag and Miodrag Burčić, are they the same people?
Isto.
Yes, the same.
And the judge asks you, well, he said that, then he continues to ask you, did Sretko Burčić had any on him? And you answer, he did. Did Spazio Bonic had any? And you answer, he did. And that man Sretan Simic, your answer, they did. My husband had a pistol, but it was a pistol that he didn't use. So all of the individuals that you were asked about by the presiding judge in Belgrade, if they had a weapon, they had weapons. You testified to the court there that they had weapons, did you not?
Da.
Yes.
Did in fact have weapons when they came to when they were at your house on the 17th of July. Is that right?
Da.
Yes.
Nisam videla.
But I didn't see them.
Well, when you were being asked those questions by the judge in Belgrade, and he asked you if these individuals had weapons, and he asked you, did this individual people have weapons? You said yes. But you never told the judge that you didn't see them, did you?
Pa možda nisam rekla.
Maybe I didn't, because at that time I wasn't very aware. I didn't know what to say. I would just get lost. And I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm saying what I know. And it is possible that I forget something, and that's due to my health.
To do the best you can what you recall, man. That's all we're asking you for. and I'm not going to go through everything that the prosecution has gone through, and certainly we're not going to go through your statement, because I know the prosecutor put them in under the Rule 154. But let me ask you, so when the firing started, there was, in fact, firing into your house by the Albanians, and there was firing out of the house by the Serbs that were in your house. That was what was going on, right? There was firing and return fire, wasn't there?
Da, prvo
Yes, they opened fire first on our house immediately as soon as they called out my husband's name. Morsdilja in theirs, in our language, don't come out. So they opened out fire immediately, and then there was shooting from all over, from one side, from the other side. Now, who shot, who fired, who did not, we don't know. The men, we were in the basement, the women, and the men were in the other building.
By the Albanians, but there also been firing by the Serbs from your house as well, wasn't it?
da.
Yes.
Now, I think that you just, and I'm not gonna cover all the topics that my learned friend went through, so I just wanna cover a few topics with you before I finish up. And I think you told us this morning that you had spoken to, I think you told the prosecutor you had spoken to a woman by the name of Petra Kosic. Is that right?
Da.
Yes.
Village of Ritimia? Ritimia? Is that right?
Da.
Yes.
She had been rounded up, and that they had been rounded up in her village by her neighbors. Was that correct?
Komšije, da, komšije.
The neighbors, yes, the neighbors' sons.
And in fact, ma'am, you knew the people, quite a few of the people who were involved in your detention when you were taken out of your house. Were you not? You knew because those individuals were neighbors. Is that right?
Da.
Yes. I knew a lot of them, but I didn't know the names. The people I know personally, yes, I provided those names, the 5 names, but I didn't know the names of the others. And I didn't really try to remember everyone's name.
And it's been a long time, and I understand that too. But you did provide names of people, individuals from your village that had been part of this attack and detention that lived from your village, and you knew who they were, right?
Da.
Yes.
Had recognized other people from the village or nearby areas, even if you didn't know their name, right?
Jesam iz našeg.
Yes, the people from our village, I recognized quite a few, but I didn't know the names, their names. I knew the names of the people who lived closer to our house.
But the people that you're talking about, both the ones you know the names of and the ones that you recognize, they were the local people, weren't they?
Da.
Yes.
just checking a note here, Judge, and if I would just bear the court, get the court's indulgence. Your Honor, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Microphone.
No, Your Honor,
Mr.
our
Tully?
topics of interest have been covered, so thank you. No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis?
Nothing from us either, Your Honour.
All right. Any redirect?
No questions, Senor.
All right, witness, your testimony is completed, and we appreciate you being with us and sharing your testimony with us. You are excused now from the court, and we wish you well. And the court usher will escort you from the room.
Hvala I vama. Ja sam ovu želju
Thank you too. I did want to come here. And as long as I can, I will not give up until I learn the truth and just the truth. And I will continue to go wherever I'm invited to come as a witness. And I thank you very much for having me here, because this was really important to me, and it's almost as if I have seen my son again, and I'm very, very grateful that I had the opportunity to come here. Thank you very much.
Efforts, and hope you're well.
hvala.
Thank you. Goodbye.
So we will be finished for the week, and we will welcome you back a week Monday. I would like to go over, if you have just a few minutes, I would like to go over the schedule from now until the Christmas break, just to make sure we're all on the same page. There have been a few minor adjustments made, and I think you've been advised, but I just want to make sure that you have. So next week is trial panel 1, and then we will follow again on the 28th. We have 3 days in court. And then into September, we will have the week of September 4th, Monday through Thursday, except Thursday, the third session will not be held. So we will only have 2 sessions on Thursday, September 7th. We will then be back in court on the week of September 11th, and again on the week of September 25th, for 3 days on that week. In October, we have the week of October 9th, October 16th, and then trial panel 1 has the week of the 23rd of October, and we are back in court on the 30th, the week of the 30th, into November 2nd, that week, that full week, Monday through Thursday. And then again on the week of November 6th, and the week of November 13th. And then we will be back in court on the 4th of December, the week of the 4th of December for 4 days, and the week of December 11th for 3 days. And the only other note I can give you is on September 26th, we will have the first two sessions, but not a third session on that day. So that's it. I hope that comports with your view of the schedule. We will start working soon on a schedule for after the first of the year, unless you're all finished by then. We're adjourned.
All rise.